With transformations, you first want to see what is the parent graph. So that graph tells you the basic shape that you're going to end up with when you graph it. So if I look at the first one here, f of x is equal to x minus 3 squared. The square is actually what indicates the parent graph. So the parent graph is essentially the x squared graph. And so we want to know what that graph looks like. And that's a parabola that goes through the point 0, 0. And then once we identify that, we want to see what's changed about it with the function that we're actually given. And so if we move to number 2, g of x is equal to the square root of x plus 3, the parent graph is actually the square root function, or y is equal to the square root of x. And that graph also goes through the point 0, 0. There's nothing on the left side, but then it curves up a little bit on the right side. So once we notice that, what I want us to know is that the other difference here is the x minus 3. And so the x minus 3 is actually what we consider to be inside the function. And that has to do with it being inside the parentheses. And the same thing for here. So it's an implied parentheses, but it is inside that square root. And that's what indicates a horizontal transformation. So for number 1, inside is that minus 3, which makes it different. And what that actually does is it shifts it, the whole graph, to the right, which does seem sort of counterintuitive because it is a minus 3, but it shifts it to the right 3 units. So if we look at the parent graph, normally it goes through that point 0, 0, but instead it's actually going to move to the right, so I'm going to put that point at 3, 0 instead. And then you can plot extra points just to get a better idea of your graph. I'm just going to do a rough sketch here. So that's actually the graph of the new function, x minus 3 squared. So it's the exact same graph as x squared, but it's just been moved entirely to the right. All the points have been moved to the right 3 units. Same thing for the next one, number 2, which is g of x. So inside the function is the plus 3. And what that plus 3 indicates is that we're going to shift the whole graph left 3 units. So originally you might say that our first point was right there at 0, 0. So now I'm actually going to move it to the left 3. And it's going to now be at negative 3, 0. And you could plot points to get a better idea of the graph. I'm just going to do a rough sketch here. So it looks the exact same as the x squared, it's just shifted entirely to the left 3 units.